topic for today is the art of loving well. Now, I cannot promise that I could teach you, but I think there are some important things from the point of Buddhism for us to learn about this topic. Now, when we think of the word love, L-O-V-E, I think it is one of the very overused words in the English dictionary. You say you love to eat ice cream, you love to climb mountains, you love your dog. If you're in the West, they say, oh, do you like my dog? Give my dog a kiss. So, people in the West love their dogs very much, but when their dogs grow old, they put them to sleep, kill the dog. Then you have expression of falling in love all people. So love has a wide variety of meaning. It could mean very strong affection, it could mean tender feelings, it could mean fondness, it could mean liking. So there's a wide range of things to describe this thing called love. So this word love doesn't tell us very much, and therefore we have to turn to some other words which could give us some kind of feeling of what love is. Now, for the purpose of this morning, I think we shall use three terms to describe the various degrees of love. First is raga, second is prema, and third is metta. Alright? Now, I will have to put the transparency on the projector for a while. The transparency, you have the words raga, prema, and metta. Raga means affectionate love, prema is closer to what we know as platonic love, and metta is boundless, all-encompassing, and the love is missing down there. It should be down there in the transparency. Yeah? I think in Bahasa Malaysia, my Bahasa Malaysia is not very good. Raga could be known as nafsu durya or keseronokan durya. Prema is kasih sayang, and metta is cinta murni. Okay? Can somebody please switch off? Thank you. Now, when we talk about raga, it means affectionate love. It also means sexual love. That is the love which people associate with creation and procreation. The kind of love which you have between Romeo and Juliet. Right? You have read about Shakespeare, the love between these two young people. They fell in love, and that love is a disastrous love because finally both of them died because of that love. And it is very strongly linked with desire, very strong desire. And sometimes puppy love could be classified under this. Puppy love between two young people. Could be children, could be 9, 10 years old. They say they fall in love, little kids. So we say, puppy love, don't worry about that. Sometimes it is what we know as a romantic love. It's falling in love, being infatuated, having mutual attraction. And this is something which you find very common among young people. I'm not saying that it is only limited to young people, but it is more common among young people. And it is a very stirring kind of love, intoxicating, almost like being drunk. When a person falls in love, you see like these two people behave as out of this world, something else. They suddenly begin to feel, that the whole world is like the kind of Hindustani show, running under the tree, clinging onto the coconut tree and all that, playing, running the sari in the breeze, and then the hero will be running after the heroine. That kind of love, very infatuating, very intoxicating. And sometimes this is the kind of love which drives couple to commit suicide. I was just reading the newspaper the other day about this young Indian boy. I think he's about in his 20s. And his body was found floating in the river. And when they took his body out of the river, they found that there were 3 letters wrapped up in a plastic bag, neatly wrapped up in a plastic bag and put into his pocket. And those are the letters which has been written by his girlfriend, who says, "Bye-bye, my dear, I'm going to marry some other man." So he killed himself. So this is the kind of love which sometimes make people want to do like that. You have got couples kind of thing saying, oh, we love each other so much, but all parents disagree. Come, let's go and commit suicide together. So they think of the best place to commit suicide. I think very dramatic is Penang Bridge. One of the longest bridges in the world. So they go down there and then jump off the bridge. Sometimes what happens is that the boy says, why don't you jump ahead? Ask the girl. And if she jumps, I say, oh yeah, like that, I better don't. So that is a very intoxicating kind of love. And sometimes this kind of love is based mainly sometimes on a figment of imagination. It's not based on the quality of what a person really is, but the kind of quality which we superimpose on another person. We have got our imagination, what that person is, and we imagine, oh, he must be like that or she must be like that. And actually she's not like that. But we imagine she's like that, and we put certain kind of qualities on her. And therefore that kind of love becomes very unrealistic. So if these two people decide to get married, and suddenly she says, ayo, she's like that now. She's such a slob. And then he said, ayo, he's like that now. He's so terrible. And of course they do not see each other's quality during the dating days. Because dating days, both of them try to act their best, try to be more cheerful than what they are, try to be whatever than they really are. And then they don't also see the other partner in the truest light. They only see their own imaginations. So therefore you could see that sometimes during when people go steady, when they go dating and all that when they're young, they're very close, holding hands and all that, and sometimes if they sit in a taxi, the seat is so big, but two of them somehow will squeeze in one corner, as if there's not enough seat to sit. But when they get married, what happens? Wife one side, husband one side, and sometimes they don't even want to see each other. Sometimes at the breakfast table, the husband will be reading on the paper and the wife will be working. He doesn't see her, he only see the news, morning news. So this kind of love is very short-lived, and that's why they say love is blind. A person is blind, intoxicated by this raga. It is blind. And it is a kind of love which lasts only for a short while, and it's not lasting. Now sometimes when we talk about raga, we talk about this the sexual energy which is within a human being. Now this energy is a very fundamental energy. It is very powerful. Now from a Buddhist point of view, we do not consider this energy to be sinful or bad. There are some philosophies, some religions which say that, oh, this sexual energy which people have is very bad, is very sinful. You mustn't have this sexual thoughts. In Buddhism, we recognize that this is a natural energy. But most importantly is how do you use this energy? So we as good Buddhists, we must use this energy with responsibility. We must not misuse this energy, and that is why the Buddha taught the third precept, that we should have contentment with our loved one, that is if we are married, and use this energy which exists within us with responsibility. And this is a very strong energy could in fact be translated in other forms. It could translate it through the emotions, through emotions to various kinds of things, like various. It is very powerful, through certain kinds of emotions. It could be sublimated, and sometimes it could be even sublimated to thoughts, to great thoughts, to things which people make. Like the artists and all that, they channel this energy into something which is creative for the good of mankind. And this is the kind of energy which we say that as young people, we have to be very careful on how we use it. And advice to young people is that if two young people get together, don't try to get physical, don't get too fast into a relationship. Because sometimes if they do that, they never get to know each other that well. And then more often than not, marriages end up in a breakup. Now, for instance, according to the statistics, we find that a very high divorce rate exists in the northern states of like Kelantan and Terengganu. Down there, people get married very early. Sometimes about the age of 16, 17, 18, they get married. And they get divorced about 1 or 2 years later. So a woman might be married about 2 or 3 times, and a man might be married much more. I also read about this case of this man who is Pawang and who is very good in making this Well, I do not know. Love potions and all that. He is married for how many times? 80 over times. And he's about 80 years old. So during his 80th or 89th marriage, I don't know, one of his relatives joked, why don't you make it into 100? This kind of love, very physical. This is just raga. Just raga. Okay, so this is a very gross sense of love, lust. Then you have the other love. If you remember on the board, we have prema, which is platonic love. The Greek word for this is philia. Philia. It is like the love we have for friends. Sometimes we have love for friends. And it is not a kind of a sexual love. It's a kind of love which we enjoy being with each other. We enjoy each other's company. And of course, everybody needs company. You want to share, and you want to be a part. You want to do things together, like going to concerts together, going to a show together, going to a football match together, that kind of thing. And you might have many things in common, sharing common interests. And sometimes this kind of love is capable of producing a lot of beautiful letters which people write to each other. Okay? So this is what we call platonic love. Love which you have between two friends, or like two great minds communicating. Sometimes these two people might have never met each other like pen pals, but you write to each other and you share that common bound of love with each other. Alright? Now the third kind of love is metta. The Greek word is agape, metta. Now this is a positive kind of love. It is a boundless form of love, boundless. It doesn't have any boundaries. And it fills the heart with love. It is concerned with the well-being of not only oneself, not only with one's loved ones, but with all beings. It is a love without boundary. It is a love which encompasses everyone and all beings. It's like the rays of the sun, When the sun shines, it shines on everybody equally. The sun doesn't say, oh, I like you, so therefore I send you more rays so that you get burnt. And I don't like you, so I deprive you of the sun rays. The sun doesn't do that. It shares its rays equally on all. And metta is like that. Boundless love to all beings. Metta is not romantic love. It's not the kind of short-lived love which is intoxicating and which lasts for a very short while, and after that it disappears. It is not something emotional or sentimental. It's not sentimental. And it doesn't necessarily seek love in return. Like most of the time when two people say, that they love each other, they expect love to be returned. Like this young lady asked the boyfriend, he says, John, do you love me very much? John says, I love you very much. He says, do you really love me very, very much? He says, I really love you very, very much. He says, do you love me so much that you will die for me? He says, no, mine is an undying love. So we wouldn't want to die for that kind of love. So this kind of love, asking for reciprocation, asking for something in return. I would only love you as much as you would be able to return that love for me. And if you cannot return that love, I'll stop loving you. And that's what happens, that kind of love, calculated love. Alright? Now, metta is a kindliness and interest in the happiness of all beings. You're interested in the happiness of all beings. Doesn't mean that you're romantically in love with everyone. Doesn't mean that when you practice metta. Say for instance a parent might have 5 children. Sometimes you see parents always trying to love all children equally. Sometimes, I think most of the time parents try. But if you look in the family, sometimes the parents will love the youngest, or perhaps the elders. There might be 1 or 2 whom the parents love more than the others. So that kind of love, sometimes it's quite natural. Sometimes some children naturally drawn to the parents. Sometimes, like daughter, drawn very, very close to the father. Father protector. Each time when the mother gets angry, the daughter runs to the father. Father protects her. No, never mind, small thing. The father will say. Or the son will go to the mother. Any problems, go speak to the mother. Want to ask money from the father? Don't to speak to the father, speak to the mother. Mother become the channel. The mother speak to the father. And that's how you get the money. So parents have certain love for certain kids. But nevertheless, parents would wish all kids to be well, isn't it? I mean, if the parent have 5 kids, I'm sure they will wish all the 5 kids to be well, although they might love one child or 2 child above the others. It is that kind of wishing that all kids are well, that they are happy, that they do not get sick, that no troubles befall on them. That kindness, that will of wishing the children well. That is associated with this quality of metta. And we find that this metta is a very, very powerful energy. It could be directed to all beings. And in fact, there was this experiment of a scientist to show how plants itself is responsive to the mental vibrations which we have. It seems that he was growing this certain kind of plants. I'm not sure what it is. I think tomato plants. So he went about 3-4 miles away, and on this plant they have connected some kind of circuit where you can have certain kind of draw. So on one batch of the plants, he thinks of wanting to pull out the plants, wanting to kill the plants. He said, oh, I want to pull you out, I want to kill you. And on the other set of plants, he radiated this kind of, this thing, oh, may you grow well, may you be fat, may you be strong, and all that. And they noticed that when he started sending this kind of thoughts of wanting to kill the plant, and it is put across time, at that moment, the plant started showing various kinds of reactions. And those plants which receive the bad mental waves are all shriveled, never grow well, whereas the other set of plants grow very well. So very strange. In fact, even our environment responds to our mental waves. And therefore, in Buddhism, we say that if everybody have very bad mental waves, you can understand what will happen to our environment. We begin to have all kinds of natural disaster because of our thought waves. And this metta is a very strong force. Now, I can give you an example using the example of the Buddha. Now, you know Vesaka, right? She's the foremost female supporter of the Buddha. Now, Vesaka is a very, she's a very virtuous lady and very wise. Now, she married son of a banker, a very rich man. Now, the father-in-law is not a Buddhist, and he doesn't support what Vesaka is doing. He doesn't see any worth, paying respect to the Buddha and all that. So there was an incident on how Vesaka, managed to make him promise that he will allow her to invite the Buddha to the house. So and then he has to be in the house, in the same room. He says, okay, on one condition, if the Buddha were to come here and have dharana, you have to put a screen between myself and the Buddha so that I will not see the Buddha, neither will the Buddha see me. So for Vesaka, no problem. So invited the Buddha over. So Buddha had dharana. And the Buddha knew who was behind the screen, as if the Buddha didn't. So after that, the Buddha sent a very strong beam, strong radiation of this metta to this father-in-law of Vesaka. Now actually he was against the Buddha. He didn't like the Buddha. He's got all kinds of things against the Buddha. But when the Buddha sent this thoughts of loving kindness to him, according to the story, he came out of the screen like the way a calf, a calf goes for the mother's milk, goes for the cow's milk. It's like when a calf is hungry, it goes and follows the mother's milk. It's like that. When the Buddha sent this beam of loving kindness, he was completely overcome. And he went to the Buddha and just took refuge with the Buddha. So this love this mental wave is very, very strong. And it is a kind of energy which can transform our whole universe. Now, for human beings, we do have some semblance of metta. In the Karaniya Metta Sutta, the Buddha used a simile of the love of a mother for her only son. The Buddha says, if you want to understand what metta is, it's like the love which a mother has for her only son. You know how much a mother loves a child? It is a wonderful thing that we talk about love at first sight, right? About romantic love at first sight. That means when you see each other, suddenly some kind of electricity passes between the two people and they say, I think I'm in love. That kind of love. But all of us have experienced that. But actually even before that, like when our parents, I shouldn't say our parents, when our mother was expecting us, the moment when we are inside her womb, she already fell in love with us. And it's a love affair which lasted for 9 months. And the moment when she gave birth, and when she saw the sight of her baby, that's what you call love at first sight. straight away, no problem about that. And that kind of love which a mother has for the child is the kind of love which she wants to protect the child. And sometimes we know how mothers even sacrifice herself for the sake of the child. That kind of love. And that kind of love which she has for the child is not something which she expects the child to do in return. What can a child do? A child can do absolutely nothing. Most of the time, what he does is he wears his pants, his nappies, he dirties his nappies, he cries when he wants to eat, and that's all he can do. Actually, if you look at it, it causes a lot of trouble. But to the parents, no, not at all. And if the child would only giggle or laugh, oh, that is fantastic, top of this world. And if the child can learn how to say a few words like mama, mama, immediately run to the telephone to grandmother to say, oh, that little John could say mama, mama, whatever. So this is the kind of love which parents have, which mothers have for the child. And it is not only a love which is shown by human beings alone. I was also reading the papers about how there was this house which was burned down. And inside this house was a dog or a bitch with 4 puppies. Now, there was no way that this bitch could escape from the house. So what she did was she covered the puppies with her body. And when the house was burned down, she was burned down too. But after the fire was over, these 4 puppies ran out. So she sacrificed herself for the puppies. So you could even see this in animals as well. It's this kind of love which the mother is a very, very strong, powerful kind of love. And it's not that kind of love which seeks for this kind of return. That if I love you, would you love me in return in the same way, if not more? Not that kind of calculated love. So the Buddha says that we should develop this kind of love, this unlimited loving kindness to all, to our loved ones, to those who are neutral. Like this, to people, if you sit in the bus, minibus, you do not know people in the bus. They are all neutral to you. You also radiate this loving kindness to them. And not only that, even to radiate this loving kindness to people whom you do not like, even to your enemies. Now some of you will say, how can I give some love to my enemies? How can I do that? But you see, we do not ask you to fall in love with your enemies. We don't ask you to do that. We just ask you to wish this kind of kindness, this friendliness to them, that may they be well, may they be happy, just like you yourself wish to be well, that you yourself wish to be happy, to be successful. So have this kind of kind thoughts for everyone, including your enemies. And you see, if you could even see the love of the Buddha, even for those who tried to kill him, even then he didn't curse them. He has kind thoughts to them. He sent thoughts of loving kindness to them. This is what we call metta. And if we can practice this metta, we become like the gods. You become loving, full of love. Alright? So this is the distinction between metta, prema, and raga. Now I would like to move on to the next section of the talk. I will talk about the quality of love. Now, is there a way of us trying to show what kind of love is of high quality, what kind of love is of low quality? Now, I try in my own limited way to trying to draw this in a diagram. So I'm going to put love, the quality of love on the diagram. I do not know if you understand this, but this is only my own formulation. I will put it in the transparency. Now just before moving on, let us go back to this parental love. Because sometimes as a parent, you find that a parent has when a person becomes a parent person has the opportunity to practice what we call the 4 Brahma Viharas. A parent has an opportunity to practice metta, which is universal love, and metta all the time for the kids. But sometimes when the children is suffering or when the children are sick, then the parents practice what we call compassion. Look after the kids. Sometimes you see how parents are so compassionate. They sacrifice for the children. When a child is sick, or when the child is born, the first 3 months is very hard. In the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning, the baby cries. I have to get up, carry the baby, feed milk and all that. And, and if the baby is really sick, when the parents will be carrying the baby throughout the whole night, going to this doctor and that doctor, and sometimes waste so much money, sometimes thousands of dollars being spent just on the kids alone. So when the children are not well, the parents develop what you call compassion, karuna. Then when the children become successful, like when they become, they perform well in schools, and when they become successful, the parents share in the happiness of the kids. And this is what we call mudita. And when the kids have grown up, they have already set up their whole families, parents should let go. Should let the kids do their own thing, because they're big enough to look after themselves. This is what we call upeka. Some parents, unfortunately, they don't do that. They start dictating terms to their children. Sometimes the mother dictates terms to the son. So finally the wife gets fed up. The wife says, you have to choose between me and your mother, something like that. And sometimes you find that this kind of quarrel happens because the mother-in-law is very possessive. Because the mothers do not know how to practice upeka, to let go. Time for them to let go. So parents go through these 4 stages, these various kinds of love which they practice. Now sometimes we find it very hard to understand what parental love is, as long as we are not parents ourselves. We do not know how much parents have sacrificed, for our sake. And it is only when we ourselves becomes parents. And I'm sure all of you would know the story of Ajatasattu, on how he actually killed his father, King Bimbisara. He had him tortured to death. I wouldn't want to repeat the story at great length. Very, very sad story about how the father gave him the throne and all that. And he threw the father in a cell and deprived the father for food. Never wanted the father to starve to death. And finally, when the father still wouldn't starve to death, because the mother sees the father every day, so the mother smuggled food inside by putting the food in the hair. And finally, even then they find out, even putting food in the clothes they find out. So she has to put honey and milk on the skin, so that King Bimbisara could get nourishment just by taking the honey and milk from her skin, from the mother's skin. So terrible. And finally, even when the father wouldn't die, he got fed up. So he sent a Baba inside the prison. And when King Bimbisara saw the Baba coming, he said, "Oh, my son must have repented. Finally, he has seen light, that he shouldn't, that he has regretted his way. So asked the Baba to shave my beard and all that." But actually what the Baba did was the Baba cut open his soul, tear open the sole of his feet and get him to walk on burning charcoal until he died. So very, very sad, The story when you read, you're very sad. And then it seems that at that time when that was happening, this Ajatasattu himself, the wife was expecting, and the wife gave birth to our son. So when that happens, his heart begins to be very troubled, isn't it? Because then he went to his mother and said, "Mother, does my father love me as much as I love my son?" So that is a very telling story. And of course the mother says that, "Oh, your father loved you much more," and all. So there's a long story how the father sacrificed so much for him. And then he began to realize, and he regretted, but too late, father died already. So this is a very sad story, but it sends home the message that sometimes we do not realize the quality of our parents' love until when we become parents ourselves. That is number one. Secondly is until the parents themselves are no more. Remember, the parents are not like rocks. They're not impermanent. They're not permanent like the mountains. They'll not be there forever. Like all things, one day they will pass away. But sometimes we don't realize this. Why? Because the moment when we are born, we have this person towering before us, our parent. They're always there. So it never occurred to us that one day they may pass away. So one day when a parent passes away, then a person begins to realize, "Ayo, I should have done this to my parents, I should have said that." So many things unsaid, undone. And that is when the parents pass away, at that time they really cry. They hit their head against the floor. "Oh, why must you leave me? What shall I do without you?" and all that. So that all the other people, all the relatives will come and say, "Oh, look at this child, very filial. See how he cries for his parents." And then that is the best time for the undertakers. Because undertakers say, "Oh, your parents love you very much, isn't it?" "Oh," he says, "Yes, love me." "What do you want the best for your parents?" "Yes, the best." Say, "Okay, if you want the best, then you pay." Like this is 5,000, like this is 10,000, like this is that. And before he knows it, he has already paid so much for the funeral. But actually, if a person is wise, we should, that is not the place to actually so much as to pay respect to the parents. The best way of paying respect to the parents is to pay respect to them when they are still alive, not when they have passed away. That is when children have lots of regrets, and that's when they waste a lot of money also. By the way, Buddhist funeral is not like that. Buddhist funeral do not waste so much money. That is Chinese funeral. Okay. Now I shall move on to the third part. how to love. Can we? I think most of the time when we talk about love, we always talk about being loved by someone. We will say, oh, if you can only find the right object, the right person for me to love, then there will be no problem. But we do not realize that actually love is something which can be learned. And it is not necessary, it is not romantic or infatuated love. In order to love, we ourselves have to come alive before we can realize the full potential of love. We have to come alive. We have to realize our full potentials. And that is, you have to live a healthy life. If you're sick, you find it very hard to love. You have got so much suffering, so much trouble. So you have to have a healthy life. You have to have self-discipline. And you need to have certain kind of patience and certain kind of concentration. So you need to develop certain kind of effort to come alive, bring out your full potentials. And when you come alive, it becomes easier for you to develop metta to others. So that is why when we do metta meditation, we always radiate loving kindness to ourselves first. If there's a lot of tension within our minds, it's not so easy for us to radiate metta to others. So that is why the very first object we say, may I be well and happy, may this body of mine not be sick, may it not be harmed, may it be free from bodily troubles, may my mind be free from anxiety and all that. It is not selfish, it's not that kind of selfish love, it's not clinging, it's just wishing yourself well, so that you might come alive and realize your full potential. And only after you have become alive that you begin to radiate it. It's like a cup. A cup is full. Fill the cup with love until it overflows with love. Then you radiate that kind of love to others. So first is to come alive. Second is communication. Communication is very, very important. And that is why the Buddha has so often emphasized the importance of speech. We know that there are three doors of action. We have our minds, we have our speech, we have our body. Now our body, we're supposed to keep away from some bad things in order to stop creating bad karma. We have to avoid killing, stealing, and sexual misconduct. That is of the body. And of the speech, there are four kinds. We don't speak, we don't tell lies. We don't use harsh speech, harsh, rough words. We do not become malicious. That is, speaking with the intention of harming and hurting other people. Some people, they use their tongue like a whip. We do not become malicious. That is, speaking with the intention of harming and hurting other people. Some people, they use their tongue like a whip. Each time when they speak, they whip other people. They cut other people to pieces with their tongue. The tongue is very soft, very pliable, that it can be as hard and cold as steel. So we've got to be very careful of our tongue. And also the fourth kind of speech we should not get involved in is gossiping, talking, chit-chatting, nothing to do, carry tales about each other, and that's when you cause a lot of problems. So it is important for us to have good, proper speech. Alright? Communication. And good communication is communication which is direct, which is honest, which is filled with good thoughts, accompanying that kind of communication. Direct means that you don't bluff, you don't go this way and that way, become very devious, doesn't tell straight, but talk crooked. Some people talk crooked. You ask them a question, then they give you an answer, and that answer lasts half an hour. After they give the answer, you wonder, what was it all about? What if your questions was answered or not? They don't answer the question. They're not direct. They're not frank. They go very indirect. Some people do this habitually. And some communication is not honest. They're very dishonest, very crooked. That is not good communication. Good communication is opened. And it is very important for us to be able to express our love in life, in our action, and give it to other people. Some people say, I love my loved ones, but we keep it inside. And in fact, when we're with our loved ones, we scold them, we shout at them. And the way we act with them, you may think that you actually don't like them. But actually some people, they have this love within their minds, or love within their hearts. Now, if you really love your loved ones, why don't you express your love? You can express it through some kind words, some kind thoughts, some kind actions. Rather than thinking that, oh, they should know I love them. Some people like that. So we need to communicate. Let the other people know. Let other people know that, we think well of them, that we support them. Very important for everybody, especially children. Sometimes when you look at parents, the only thing they speak to children is they scold the children. And they think that by scolding the children, surely the children will become good children. They scold, shout, or they cane the children. And next time when the children becomes big and very naughty, run away from school and all that, he said, I do not know about this child. If I know and small, I should strangle him to death. Just strangle him to death. Hit him so much, and yet he's like that. And they don't realize that hitting is only one part of the story. How about praising? Have they ever praised the children when the children have done right? Do they say, oh, well done, very good, we're very proud of you? Sometimes among Asian families, it's not so easy for parents to say that to kids. But sometimes we know that our parents support us from the way they look. Look at their eyes, look at the way they feel. Oh, we know that our parents really support us. Or sometimes when they talk to their friends and they say, my son, very obedient one, very good, And then when you listen, very nice. So this is the kind of positive feedback which parents should give. This is what we call communication. And in love, it has to be this kind of communication. Children should also communicate this love to the parents, and parents should communicate this love to the children. Very important. And down here, we have the love which is acceptance. Now, it is very important when we practice metta to have acceptance. Because when we say metta, some people say, oh, I like this person because he's very nice. And that person is not so nice, so how can I express metta to him? When we practice metta, we should see a person as what he is, in terms of his potential. And in Buddhism, we say that everybody has the potential to be enlightened. The intrinsic nature, the Buddha nature within them. And it is with that we express this love. It's not that, because this person has done something bad, therefore we cannot express metta to him. No. We accept a person as what he is. And then, meanwhile, radiating metta to him and helping him to outgrow that so that he becomes better, much better. Alright? So, communication of acceptance, that you accept people. Then there is this another kind of communication which you need to have. This is communication of respect. Respect. Respect means that to enable the other person to have some kind of privacy. Don't pry into their affairs. I know sometimes when some people share rooms with their roommate, and then when you are not around, or when you're, then if your roommate starts reading your diary, how do you like it? Some roommates do that, or open up people's letters. That's not very good. Now, if you really have love for each other, you shouldn't do that. You should respect the other person for his privacy, and don't pry into their affairs. To speak and treat everyone with kindness, and to be kind, to speak with everybody with respect. Doesn't mean that because they're kids that you bully them, push them around. Doesn't mean that. To respect that even that kid itself might have a lot of qualities. Sometimes when you look at kids, sometimes they might even have greater qualities than what some of us may have. Although he may be a little kid, and although we might be more advanced in age compared to him, perhaps that kid might be more developed. Because remember, that kid is only young in terms of his chronological age. But all of us are ancient beings. We have traveled in this samsara. And in this samsara, some people have developed various kinds of qualities. So if you see the little kid down there, that little kid may one day become, perhaps your teacher. I don't know. He might be able to grow up to become someone worthy. So we must not mistreat people. We must treat people with respect. Because if kids, for instance, are not shown any respect, they will grow up to become very insecure. They would have no self-respect for themselves, because everybody treat them as if they don't matter. Alright? So to treat everybody with this certain kind of respect. And in fact, even with partners, between husbands and wives, There is a quotation which says that it's like the pillars of a temple. It must stand apart, yet supporting the roof of a temple, right? So like if husband and wife become so close to each other, that everything the husband does must tell to the wife. Everything the wife does must tell to the husband. And sometimes the husband very overbearing, very strong personality. Then after a few years, the wife's character becomes shriveled. The wife begin to lose her character because the husband become too powerful. So the husband begin to overpower her. It's like one tree growing in the shadow of another tree, and that tree cannot grow well. There must be some space so that both these individuals can grow and develop their full potential. You must not be so close that you completely overpower the other person. So there must be this kind of mutual respect. And mutual respect means to have appreciation. Very important that we should appreciate. There are many things which people have done for us. Most of the time we don't even think about it. We take it for granted. It is very important that we should have some kind of appreciation for the little things which people do for us. For we to continue living in our life, you know how many lives would have to die for us. Look at the food we eat. Look at the clothes we wear. Look at the kind of things which we have. So many beings would have died, sacrificed so much energy for us to continue on living. And therefore we should try to develop appreciation for people. We must learn to say, thank you for all you have done. I really appreciate it. Must have appreciation. So, second quality we have to develop in the art of loving is communication. Can we have a third one, please? It is important for us to be sensitive to others. To be sensitive to others is also another part of communication. To listen to other people. Not only must we communicate love to one another, but we should also open up ourselves and listen to the other party. Of course, you can listen when somebody says, sit down, I'll tell you about this. Or when someone is in trouble, and you know he's in trouble, then you sit down and listen to him. At that time, don't give so much advice. Some people, when people are in trouble, they start giving advice. Oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. And when people don't take advice, start scolding people. Actually, when a person is in that kind of position, what he really wants is somebody just to give a listening ear, just to listen, so that the person can pour out his heart. And all you've got to do is to listen. And now that is very clear. You sit down and you listen. But sometimes a person need not necessarily communicate with his words. Sometimes he can communicate with his eyes. Sometimes he can communicate with his actions. And therefore, if we want to have love, to radiate this kind of love, we have to be sensitive to one another, to open up, to be able to read what we call body language. A person can express it through his smiles or through his frowns, through his words, through his deeds, through his thoughts. For his thoughts, for instance, a smile, or perhaps the brow, whether it's a wrinkle, when a person is singing, or whether it's smooth, whether a third person's face is kind of radiant, or whether when you look at his face, he looks very troubled. So that is the kind of communication we can get. And the moment when we can get that, we can quickly get back to a person. Aha, this person, my friend, is in trouble. Perhaps there's something which I can do for him. Or sometimes through the speech, to be sensitive to others. From the sound of the voice. Sometimes when you speak on a telephone, and when a person is in trouble, you can hear that the voice which comes out on the telephone is different. And sometimes a person pretends to be happy. But if you listen properly, not so. You can hear from the quality of this voice. So sometimes there was this Chinese saying which says that when you do business with other people, be careful of the man who laughs but his stomach doesn't move. So he laughs, ha 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 ha. But when you look at his stomach doesn't move. That one, you know that he's not actually honest. So this is what we call reading body language. Reading actions of other people. And actions could be communicated in many ways, like perhaps our touch. Like when you hold a person, you help a person. You hold a person and help him. Or you do certain kind of acts of sacrifice for him. And these are the various ways we can actually read signals from each other. And then these are also the ways which you can communicate through from your thoughts, speech, and action. So you can read other people from their thoughts, speech, and action, and you can also communicate this kind of thoughts, speech, and action to them, to communicate this kind of respect, this kind of appreciation to them. All right? Can we have the next quality? To be sensitive to other people. Fourth is to control anger. Now we know that when you are angry, it's not easy to love. In fact, it's impossible to love. You cannot have anger and love existing in the mind at the same time. But sometimes, of course, sometimes you have this kind of anger of parents. When the kids are very naughty, they love the kids very much. And when the kids have done something very bad, like told a lie or stolen something, so the parent gets very angry and beat the kids properly, give him a good whacking. Now the parents get very angry, but sometimes that kind of anger is associated more with compassion. Compassion, sometimes people think is very soft. People think compassion is very soft, but may not be so. In fact, in certain countries like Tibet, they express compassion and they try to make compassion in a form of a person. Compassion is put as a male, not a female. Because compassion is not necessarily soft. Compassion can sometimes be very strong. It is this power of compassion that makes people do heroic things. That they're able to go to the battle, to almost at the risk of their life in order to help other people. Power of compassion, very strong sometimes. And you can see this when you read the life stories of the Buddha. This power of compassion, like the story about how he and his mother was shipwrecked in the ocean, and how he tried to carried the mother on the back and swam in the ocean for 7 days, 7 nights. And when a person is angry, very hard for a person to develop this kind of love. And of course, anger is actually it's a poison actually. It's a poison we carry in our mind. Sometimes you think, your enemies hurt you. But actually, if you get angry, if your enemies succeed in making you angry, then the kind of hatred and anger which you have in your mind does you more harm than any enemy can, that anger, that hatred which we have in our mind. Very, very dangerous. It burns us up. And that is why when we talk about devas, devas are beings who live in celestial world and their body is very fine. And they always have lots of happiness. But if that deva becomes angry, he gets burnt up, completely burned into flames, and it completely burnt out and he dies. So this anger is a very, very terrible thing. Of course, our body is so gross. When we get angry, we don't see ourselves burning up. Although there are cases of some people burning into flames, bursting into flames. Have you read about that? Some people, they burst into flames and they get burnt to death. Very strange. I do not know what causes it. But this is to show you what anger can do. Even a deva will die if it becomes angry. Now say if a person has said something bad to us, what do we do? In the first place, we should recall what the Buddha taught. The Buddha says if we are good disciples of the Buddha, we shouldn't get angry. We have patience. A very good example was this monk who wanted to go to central part of Asia to do some missionary work. And that area is known to be, the people tend to be very tough, very cruel and all that. So the teacher asked him, the teacher says, are you sure you want to go to that place to spread Buddhism? He says, yes teacher, I do. And the teacher says, what if people abuse you? People scold you all kinds of harsh words, Then he says, teacher, that in that case I'm very grateful that they did not hit sticks to beat me. They did not beat me with sticks. Then the teacher says, what if they take sticks and beat you up? Then he says, teacher, then I'm very grateful. Then at least they don't kill me. Teacher says, what if they kill you? Then he says, teacher, at least I'm grateful that they have relieved me of this unwholesome body. That I could be free from this unwholesome body. Then the teacher says, good, now you can go. So, if you're a good disciple of the Buddha, we shouldn't get angry. We should always try to maintain non-anger in our mind. we shouldn't get angry. Huh? But if somebody says something to us, instead of getting angry, listen to the message. Perhaps what the person says is true. Sometimes because we become angry, sometimes even before that person can say something, we start thinking what to answer back. And because of that, we are not listening to the other person. Perhaps the person might not say it in the proper words, but he must have a point. There might be something about yourself which should be changed for your own benefit. So if we were to open ourselves up and listen to a person, perhaps there might be a few things which we can learn from him. Although we do not like what he's saying, there might be a couple of things which you can learn from him. And if you can learn something from him, shouldn't get angry with him. In fact, you should say, thank you very much. I'm very grateful to you for becoming my teacher, for pointing out to me some mistakes which I myself could not see, which sometimes my friends does not tell me. Sometimes our close friends never tell us anything. There's the person who says that, please says it in a prayer, I pray that I might be protected from my friends. He says, I know what to do with our enemies. Sometimes I do not know what to do with our friends. Because friends, sometimes they don't tell us. Sometimes if there's something wrong with us, they don't tell us. And it takes somebody who do not like us to tell us that. So therefore, don't get angry first. Put our anger down and listen. Is there a point down there? Is there something we can learn? And instead of getting angry, remember, criticism is our opportunity for growth. Don't get angry. Don't say, wow, I get criticized, and that time we boil up. Say, this is my opportunity to grow. Criticism. Criticism shocks us, it gives us a shock treatment. And then when we realize what it really is, it enables us to change ourselves, and it enables us to improve ourselves, to grow. And that's why sometimes we need criticism sometimes, okay? Now that is if the critique is justified. But sometimes if the critique is completely baseless, it's not justified. There's no reason at all. This person suddenly comes and starts shouting at you and all that. Sometimes you get poison letters. I myself sometimes get this letter, I think from this one person who starts writing. He writes in a kind of italics. And he's writing all kinds of funny things. And I also realize that I'm not the only person who receives this. It's not like kind of poison letter. When you read this, you know this person mentally perhaps this thing, mentally affected. When you read down there, he was saying about Interpol and all that. It's a bit this thing. So if it is completely boundless, what should you do? In that case, then you shouldn't get angry. Then when a person calls you, you listen. Sound. You only hear sounds. You don't hear anything else. Or if a person calls you and start making all kinds of false allegations, you must not respond, because when you respond, you have lost. When you get angry, you have lost the battle. What you have to do is to maintain yourselves. And then he scolds you. Then instead of getting angry, what should you develop? You should develop compassion. You say, oh, this person starts scolding me, and not only me, many other people, all these words. I wonder what will happen to him. Perhaps after speaking these words, everybody will have to face their own karma. When in this life, there is nothing which we can carry with ourselves. When we pass away, even our body have to be left behind. Even this beautiful body of ours, which takes so much trouble to beautify, to strengthen, to feed and all that, will become food. Food for what? Food for the worms. The worms will start eating the body. Even this body we cannot carry. But there's only something which follows us, and it is our good and bad karma, which follows us from life to life. And you look at this person making all these kinds of statements, poor person, making all this kind of statement, surely he will have to face the bad consequences of his speech. Therefore, if we are practicing Buddhist, we should say, I must not give him further instigation. I must not give him certain opportunities for him to get angry some more. Don't simply do certain things which make him lagi angry. Sometimes we make him worse. He's like that, he's angry, we do some other things. Bang this, bang that, make them more angry. Poke fire. Then you say, no, have compassion for him. Because when he does that, or when you speak all these bad words, angry words which are completely baseless, he will have to face the consequences of his action. So have compassion. And try to act in such a way that his anger doesn't grow. So which means that you radiate loving kindness to him. And after that, when you radiate loving kindness, when you speak, you notice that when a person is angry, when a person starts scolding you, or like this, and then when you begin to speak in a very soft, nice voice to him, immediately his anger comes down, like that. You can see how that kind of reaction changes. But when a person is hot, you poke fire someone, you scold him, like you hot, or explode. So therefore, this is the way which we Buddhists would have to maintain. So in both cases, whether a person, when he makes a criticism for us, whether the criticism is justified or non-justified, there is no grounds for us to get angry. Now, I know it is hard, but this is something which we try to develop. Because as long as we have anger and hatred in our minds, it is very hard for us to practice metta. Very hard for us to say, oh, may you be well and happy. Then that kind of may you be well and happy is something which is spoken with the mouth, but not with the mind. You say, oh, may you be well and happy. Like that one. Like many people say, good morning. But they don't really mean good morning to you. May you have a good morning. Doesn't mean that. Good morning. Oh, thank you. Like that. No feelings, no thoughts. Like machines, very mechanical. Now, can we have the fifth one? Control anger. Is that all? Okay. The last word is important. Then the final thing is that we should try to cultivate loving kindness or metta every day. Metta is not something which you will only practice when you sit down in meditation and say, may I be well and happy, may I be free from hatred, may I be free from that, may I be this and that. Then you go on with your parents and all that. Then after that meditation, you go out and kick the cat, shout at everybody, start scolding people. Not that kind of thing. That kind of metta. Sometimes you wonder, what is this person doing down there? Sitting down, chanting. Then he gets up and starts scolding other people. Metta is a quality which we should try to practice all the time. Of course, when we sit down, that is a very good thing to do. If you can spend some time per day, a few minutes per day, sit down. And sometimes you don't have to sit cross-legged, even like when you sit on a bus. When you sit in a bus, you can close your eyes. Of course, it doesn't mean that you sleep. No, you close your eyes and you know that the journey is going to be half an hour. So you close your eyes and radiate loving kindness to yourself. You have many opportunities to practice metta. You can practice metta even at the bus stop, waiting for the bus. Practice metta. Some people say, I don't have time to do this. But actually, if you think about it, there is all this time. Sometimes during lunchtime. After you have taken your lunch, you come back, you sit on the chair. If you are going around gossiping, you can sit down and start having good, wholesome thoughts of metta. Now this is something we should try to practice every day. We can begin the morning by wishing everybody well. The first thing when you get up, you wish. Oh, if your parents are alive, may my parents be well and happy. May they always be strong. And if your brothers and sisters, wish metta to your brothers and sisters. To your friends, some of your friends are in trouble. If they have certain kind of problems, wish that may they recover for that kind of problem. So we begin our morning that way. And we also practice metta the last thing before we go to sleep. Just before you sleep, just radiate loving kindness to everyone. This is a good way when you get up and before you go to sleep. And the benefit is that when you do this kind of things, you actually don't need cosmetics. This is what we call the Buddhist prescription for beauty. For our sisters down here who wants to look beautiful, and also for our brothers who wants to look radiant. Of course, the men don't put on makeup, but for the sisters who put on makeup and all that, the best kind of cosmetics you can have is the cosmetic of metta. Now, if you have love, when you have loving kindness in you, and when people speak to you, they know you are kind, you're very friendly, and you're very compassionate. No need, you don't even have to put on all this makeup. You will emerge as a very beautiful person, a person who is beautiful inside. This is the beauty prescription. It's 2,500 years old. Better than your I don't know, Elizabeth or Arden, is it? Did I say right? or your Revlon makeup or whatever, better than that. And also it is this kind of thing which will enable you to rest well, to sleep very well. And when you sleep well, you also wake up very well. You become very fresh, very energetic. And we should try to radiate this kind of loving kindness. Even sometimes when we walk, say you get down from the bus as you walk to office, you can radiate this kind of loving kindness to all people passing by. You might not know them. They are neutral people, but you wish them well. As you enter the office, you see your office mates, and wish them well and happy. So there are opportunities all the time for us to practice metta, radiate this loving kindness. You radiate loving kindness to yourself, to your loved ones, and to other people. By saying that, may people not be sick. Health is one of the most wonderful things we can have. Wish that they're not sick, that they become healthy. Wish that they're not in danger. Wish that they are safe. That is on the physical side. Then on the mental side and emotional side, wish that they don't have grief, that they don't have anguish. Wish them success. Wish them happiness. Wish them peace. So these are the kind of things which we can wish people all the time. And we can practice this all the time, even when we are doing our work. Even like, as I mentioned, like waiting for a bus as you walk. Whatever it is, even like getting into this hall while waiting for Sister Ivy to come up with a guitar. You can even do that. You can radiate your loving kindness. You see? So you can practice this all the time. And this is a very good thing for us to practice, to develop this good quality within our minds. Because the Buddha says that if we can carry this metta within our minds, we become like the Brahmas. The Brahmas, they're like the gods residing in the Brahma worlds. And they are in the Brahma worlds because of this mental quality which they have, because of the love which they have. If you radiate this loving kindness. And the thing is, if a person practices this loving kindness to a very high level, when he passes away, he will also be reborn in the realms of the gods. Even you can see, even in this world, even while he is living, he's already like a god. Having this loving thoughts of loving kindness, boundless love for all beings. What more when he passes away? So naturally he'll be born in this Brahma world. Okay? And in order to close this talk, I would like to tell you a story about this power of metta. Now there was this monk one day. This monk was sitting down chanting. Then while he was chanting, a thief came in. And a thief came in and started stealing, opening the cupboard and said, anything from this monastery to steal. So stole this and that and that and that. And he took the money, bag of money. Then while he took the money, this priest was chanting, but this priest knows what's going on. Priest says, oh, by the way, when you take money, remember to leave something behind for me, to pay taxes. I think those days they have to pay taxes. So then he left some money for the priest. And then he very quietly tried to walk out of the temple. And the priest says, oh, when you have taken something from the temple, what must you say? So he says, oh, thank you. And then he walked off. And then it seems that a few days later he was, a few days later he was being caught. And in fact, it seems that he's got a criminal history. And it seems that one of the person who was asked to testify against him was a priest. And the priest came for this thing, and the priest, the judge asked the priest, did he steal from the temple? He says he didn't. He says he even said thank you to me. So this monk was actually very kind. He was very kind to this thief because he knew that this thief actually has the potential. So this thief was very, very touched by this monk, because all the other people say that, because all throughout his life, people have been against him. For the first time in his life, there was a person who sees some quality in him. So he sees that after his sentence was over, when he came out from the jail, he went to this priest and became a disciple. And this thief one day himself became a very famous monk himself. So this is to tell you that this metta which we have for people can sometimes do wondrous things. It can even change a thief into a saint. Alright? So with that, I shall end this talk.